All right, everyone. Every time a scandal supposedly is cropping up within the Trump administration or his former campaign, it keeps ending up being nothing. Like you'll remember, of course, it was first Russia, like Trump colluded with foreign states or someone in his campaign did. That never happened. It was proven false. Trump obstructed justice. Well, no, he didn't. There's no evidence he obstructed justice. You can use a subjective definition if you're like hyper liberal and say that mean tweets against Mueller or something or Comey constitute obstruction, but that's subjective. Number one, hasn't been legally determined. Number two, and number three is again dumb. Then there's his taxes, and that's sort of ongoing. Like the state of New York is really trying to fuck Trump with regards to that, but so far nothing has happened. Now members of Congress supposedly have access to some of his tax info. I don't see anyone coming out saying, yes, we got a smoking gun. Trump cheated on his taxes. You know why? Because he didn't. If anything, he probably paid more than he had to just to flummox these people. And then there was the Trump Tower meeting claim, which, was largely misunderstood, never really happened. And now you've got another phony scandal. So chalk up, win number 4 or 5 for Trump at this point on the witch hunt scale, which is the Trump Organization was briefly investigated by federal prosecutors for the possibility of having misused campaign finance, like campaign finance violations. Well, they're not going to charge anyone with anything under that either because they didn't find any evidence of campaign violations. So this was a major claim too, fairly recently. After the Mueller probe broke down completely and it was clear that Trump didn't do anything wrong, they immediately switched to two things. The Trump campaign acted improperly and Trump did bad things years ago on his taxes. The latter is still technically under investigation, but by now we would have had some Democrats saying, oh, haha, we found that he scrubbed millions in profit in order to not pay taxes on it or something like that. He built the U.S. government, which, by the way, I don't think he did. I really doubt it. And the former campaign violation sort of thing now has fallen flat. So here's another example of a statement made by the left. Trump's campaign committed violations. They did bad things with money. They embezzled. They committed fraud. They shuffled money around dubiously. They did things that were illegal in some way. No, they didn't. Apparently, there's no evidence of that, or they'd be bringing charges against someone, I'm sure. At the very least, they would bring charges against some little-time people. A couple of staffers, maybe some middle management consultant or an accountant or something. That's what they would do. But, I guess they didn't do that. So once again, Trump is either the ultimate mafia don that can do literally anything under the sun wrong and get away with it, or Trump is actually innocent and hasn't done anything wrong. Now, if you're a liberal, you assume the former. If you're a conservative, you probably assume the latter. And that's really what it boils down to. Trump is not going to get impeached. By the way, remember the dude from the keys to the White House sort of stuff. 13 keys to the White House. If the incumbent or if the presidential individual who's running for the president, if they have 7 of the keys, they win. If they don't, then they lose. Lichtman, I think it was his name, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. I could be misremembering. He said that if the Democrats don't attempt to impeach, that Trump probably wins re-election because technically speaking, none of the other things that have happened, because there's no charges or anything, none of them touch Trump, like his taxes, campaign finance, all of these things at the Russia probe. None of those things constitute a significant domestic scandal, which would take one of the keys away from Trump, specifically because there's no action further, there's no attempt to impeach. It's looking more and more like it won't happen. It's looking more and more like the Democrats have become demoralized on that, and so they've simply decided, hey, next best thing is we'll just say Trump is a racist, and we have a platform that's really, really far left. That appears to be their operative strategy. I don't think it's going to work. I think Trump will be reelected probably. I do happen to believe that that'll happen. By the way, if they did attempt to impeach, I wouldn't see that as a major domestic scandal anyway. They might lack the votes. It might blow up in their faces, leaving them short of votes. Then they look weak as well. And in an electability campaign, man, there's no better way to demoralize the Democratic Party than for them to fail to even impeach him when they run the fucking House of Representatives. By a fairly comfortable margin. So yeah, another phony scandal. Attempts to blow up in Trump's face only to blow up in the opposite direction and shower his enemies with righteous flames, I suppose. Trump Organization gets off scot-free because it didn't commit any campaign violations. which is good for Trump because, of course, you come to think of it, think of it this way. Trump himself doesn't micromanage every aspect of his campaign. If people within his campaign did embezzle or shuffle money around, do something dubious, he may very well not be aware of it. He's too busy off campaigning. He's giving speeches and stuff. He's not really handling the money aspect. But the Democrats, if so much as one low-level staffer took one bundle of cash and squirreled it away into a Cayman Islands bank account instead of depositing it correctly, they would jump down Trump's throat the same way they tried to do with Bernie Sanders with a couple of his staffers sexually assaulting people. They tried to hashtag MeToo Bernie Sanders, a Democrat, at the time still the leftist in the race too, before Kamala and Warren and all these others decided to outmaneuver and outflank him. They tried to go after him too for what was done by other people that he could not possibly have micromanaged. They try to do this to Trump. He is held responsible. If someone who likes Trump shoots somebody, it's assumed that Trump is responsible for it. He's the only person uniquely in U.S. political history to be held to such a standard. It really is Trump derangement syndrome. It really is orange man bad disease. That's about all. Peace out.